Hello, I'm Adam and this is Get About Football, where we talk about all things football, no partisanship, no bias and nothing off the table. I've decided to do a regular section on why modern football is rubbish, just my grumpy old man views of what has regressed in the modern game compared to when I was growing up. For the first video, I want to talk about how football shirts have become so minging over the last 25 or 30 years or so. I'm sure that you all know what I mean, but if you don't, I'll give you an opening gambit. I grew up in the 80s when this, and this were the standard designs, give or take with some embellishments over the years. Even the sponsors became part and parcel of the shirts. Liverpool had Crown Paints, Newcastle had the Newy Brown Star, West Ham had Advco, whatever that is, and of course Man United had Sharp. And you pretty much knew what the design and colours would be of your away and third kits too. For instance, United would be exactly the same design as the red, but in white and blue for the third strip. Liverpool, Forest, Everton would usually have a chain shirt of white, with yellow as the main colour for their third strip. Of course, there were occasional anomalies. Man United wore yellow as an away kit for several years in the early 70s, for instance, and this monstrosity, as sported by less than impressed Coventry City players in the late 70s, is actually chocolate, although I'd compare it more to the aftermath of a really dodgy curry. Nowadays, the home kits are generally decent enough, with the occasional exception. In some ways, the kits have evolved or regressed, such as Coventry City playing vertical blue and white stripes as they did when I started watching football in the mid-80s, to pinstripe halves, to navy blue and lighter blue vertical stripes, and many other combinations, but what we do know is Coventry play in blue. The problem really starts with the away kits, and a disclaimer beforehand. You may disagree with some of the choices, which means you probably don't have any taste or think that I've left some real crimes against nature out, which is probably true, but I couldn't put them all in, and I'd be happy to hear from you in the comments below about your personal shirts from hell, or the ones that you are really ashamed that you bought. Finally, there may be some shirts like this pretty awful centenary anniversary Newton Heath shirt, obviously Manchester United, but maybe you had some nostalgic attachment as a United fan, that your team actually won the league for the first time in 26 years, or Cantona wore it in a key game, so ugly kits are partly in the eye of the beholder. In my eyes, things started to change at the start of the 90s with Liverpool's silver kit. I'd never seen anything like that before. Liverpool only wore white or yellow when they played away. But they had this for their 1990 title win, but it was okay. The design was just like the home kit, just in that changed colour. But tastefulness was soon to be short-lived at Anfield, with a slew of repellent bogey green kits in the period, from 1990 with these three other being amongst the worst. In 1993, 1996 and 1999, they're really on a roll in the 90s. However, this struggle for taste was not over, as unfortunate Reds fans, who seemingly weren't suffering enough with Man United's dominance, and some terrific shirts like this black one, I think around 1992 to 94, they were exposed to these crimes against nature, being given a respite for only about 10 years after the millennium. In 2012, this senseless concoction, only to be bettered by this a year later. But you have your own say. Is this shirt worse than this in 2016? Or these 2 years later? Haven't Liverpool fans suffered enough? Personally, I think this production line of piss-poor kits over the last 30 years may actually have led to the Liverpudlians' 3-decade wait for a title. How can you, never mind your opposition, take you seriously when you're wearing this? In fact, I blame Liverpool's slump this season on this kit, rather than the crippling injuries they've had to endure. This colour looks like something you create when you're having the flu, rather than a shirt you're proud to wear. But if you're laughing at Liverpool, then think again. Your club is not without sin. Man United fans again. Look at this zebra kit. Surely it's the result of Woodward losing a bet, and he must have lost a lot over the last 10-15 years. Going back to the start of the 90s, the only fans who like the Arsenal banana kit are addled Arsenal fans. It's truly hideous. How about this offering from Manchester City this season, which ignited the debate, does it look more like rhubarb and custard sweets or drumsticks? It's as if Man City, who are trying desperately to reach something like Liverpool's level as a big club, think the best way to achieve that is by wearing nauseating shirts. Look at the white paisley one. But it's not just big clubs getting in on the act. Look at this bad cold of a third kit from Oldham in '93, or this poor bugger modelling another rhubarb and custard contender in the form of Hearts away strip back in 2016-17. Looks thrilled to bits, doesn't he? And finally, Let's go a little bit further down the footballing pyramid. Stevenage Borough did the double for this section, torturing their players and minimal following with these misfit kits in 2019. Now, I believe one of the causes and main criminals are goalkeeper kits, and public enemy number one is former 90s and springy Mexico 5'6" keeper George Campos. I'm not sure why he chose these dayglo atrocious patterns, but he certainly was memorable. When I was doing my research for this, asking mates about bad kits, his name popped up as an ever-present. I suppose when you're a keeper and that diminutive, you probably need to blind a striker bearing down with you with something like this. That said, this legend of kit colour psychology is not the only keeper to wear a terrible design that looks awful home and away. Take this abysmal 1996 England keeper jersey worn by a very happy David Seaman, whose vital saves just knocked out Spain on a penalty shootout. But we all know it was down to the distracting pattern. Another goalkeeping great, Peter Schmeichel, helped his country win the 92 Euros against the odds with this fashion monster. And finally, take 80s legend Everton goalkeeper Neville Southall, representing his country Wales whilst wearing something I just can't describe, and he's having a nice little wry smile about it. Maybe he's in on the joke, we'll never know. David James's early Watford days saw him wear this, what young players will do to get a game, but he felt he could be equally abused at Liverpool. And finally, at his lowest ebb, in the colours of Portsmouth, James's blindingly pink keeper kit is the worst of a bad bunch and creates a neat segue into pink kits. Supposedly, you can wear pink if you're man enough, but surely not on the football pitch. Sure, some pinks are done in conjunction with charities, but that doesn't help when you're facing an opposition who are just laughing at you. Phil Jagielka is wearing here perhaps the worst Everton shirt in living memory, and this Toffee stalwart never won a thing with them. What a shocker. Then look at low-flying Grimsby, who decided to try and put their town on the map from space by wearing this embarrassment. Not a single smiling face there. Another crime was committed, again, by Manchester United, but they were much better as they had a toned-down shade in honour of Manchester-based final score paper, The Pink. Sometimes it's not great to be nostalgic. Here it is, modelled by usually bubbly and positive Jesse Lingard, who looks, well, like a man wearing a crap shirt and knowing it. Even Real Madrid, arguably the biggest club in the world, have got in on the act. They're wearing this effort, and what boggles the mind is how they kept winning trophies in it. Looking internationally, Scotland thought it would be a good idea to go pink, and it actually may have worked, seeing as they will be in the Euros for the first time since '96 this summer. In the end, this rundown of terrible kits could be hours long with the dreadful strips on offer, so I'll simply make a plea that clubs return to these kits of the past, which will come up intermittently in this section. Kits where we knew who was playing without being dazzled, who were graceful in their simplicity, that made you think of great players and great teams gone by, not the garish corporate logo adorned overpriced tops we all feel obliged to buy. Shirts that changed subtly down the years, that you knew who the team was despite the changes, home or away. So which kit is your most hated? Please comment below or tell me which kit is your time favourite. Now like, share and subscribe, and thanks for the support.